Hi there and welcome to another episode of Nicole's Flower Garden. This weekend I haven't been too busy in the garden because of life, things have to be done, and also I have pretty much finished planting my garden for the summer. And today it's windy and it's not really raining, but it's spitting, so I can't really do much outside. So let me just tell you about what I did yesterday. In the week, Freddie and I decided we want to up our, here comes the rain, increase our our herbs that we grow at home. So we've been cooking with a lot of different herbs lately and really enjoying it. Herbs are quite expensive here in New Zealand, so we're going to grow a lot more from home. We've been doing coriander, parsley, I've had spring onion. That's basically all I've had in the garden so far, so we really wanted to up our game. So we had this little space behind me where we didn't really have anything, so I measured it. It was exactly 1 meter. Fatty took some pallet wood and cut it up, and he bought me this lovely little herb. It's just a stand really, it's whatever you want it to be, but for us it's going to be where our herbs are, and he made this nice little sign for me. So the first thing I needed to do was figure out my pots, what would fit in this space. So we went off to the shops, and 2 shops were sold out of their terracotta pots. So I had to recycle the ones that I actually use at school. On my windowsill at school I have succulents growing, and I had just started to bring them home for the holidays. So I had to remove some of my succulents and put them just in temporary pots so that I could use my terracotta pots for this project. And I'll show you a little bit later how I propagate more succulents, because what happened when I took my big, I think it's called Echeveria, when I removed it, some of the bottom leaves, I needed to remove them, and then I put that on soil and I make more succulents. So I'll show you what that looks like, because I have started a few of them quite a while ago and they've grown for me, so I'll show you what that looks like. Let me quickly just talk about the herb process over here. As far as I can remember, the first thing I did was to wash all the pots out. Some of them have been standing around in the garage for a while, and like I said, some of them had other things already potted in them. So that was the first thing I needed to do, was just wash them with a little bit of sunlight liquid, and then I'll give them a good rinse with clean water, and then they can just dry. They dry very quickly, but because I'm planting something, it's okay actually for them to be wet. The next phase is to put potting mix in. So I decided to go for organic potting mix because I'm definitely going to be eating what's going to grow over here. And then I filled it almost to the top, but I came in with some seed raising mix, just probably about 2 centimeters deep, right at the top, because I'm going to be, or I did direct seed over here. So I put the seeds directly into these pots. That's why I put seed raising mix on the top layer. And then what I do is I just laid out which seeds or which plants would work best with the shaped pots that I had available. I laid out the little labels, and then I just went one for one and read the back of the seed packet, which is a very important thing to do, because that tells you how deep the specific seed likes to be planted. Some seeds like to be just surface sown because they need direct sunlight in order to germinate. Other seeds 1 millimeter, 3 millimeters, 5 millimeters, or 1 centimeter. You need to read the back of every single seed packet as you go through to just see how deep they need to go. So some of them I would put more soil on the top, some just a tiny bit. I also do vermiculite, which helps to do 2 things, as far as I understand. Helps to retain moisture and create humidity. Now, I've not actually direct seeded like this outside, other than my zinnias, which I did 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I'm not sure how it's going to go. I just decided to sprinkle some vermiculite over the top, even if it just helps to retain moisture. I'm not sure how it's going to help with the humidity if I don't actually put a covering on over the top, which I'm not going to do outside. in any event, I'm sure it's going to be fine. So the vermiculite should just help retain moisture, because the seeds are not going to germinate if they don't stay nice and moist. They don't want to be soaking wet and then drown, but they want to be moist and they want to be warm. And hopefully those two things are going to happen. It's getting warmer every day here. It is almost the beginning of summer, so I don't know how it's going to go, but I always have hope that it's going to go really, really well. Today is Sunday afternoon, and the plans are to start other seeds. So I thought I'd take you through the process there. These are not going to be direct started outside. They're going to be started inside. And I've had very, very good luck with that. So I thought I might go through the process of that whole thing with you. Before I do that, maybe I'll take you over to my succulent starting operation. Sunflower teddy bear, look at this. Okay, this is my little greenhouse, and those are the succulent leaves that I pulled off yesterday. So they are pretty big ones. I just put some soil in a little saucer, and I'll just keep this wet. So when I come and I water my plants over here, I also water that, and just in a short while, this is what it starts to look like. So I don't have any of those big leaves, but these little ones, I'll show you. See how they start to root into the soil, and they grow little babies off the edge. So the leaf doesn't turn into a succulent, but the edge grows into a little succulent, and it works really well as long as you keep it moist and warm. You get by a lot of little baby succulents. And I'll take you on a walk back and show you what I do with it after that. Is I just put it in a little pot like this, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 of those little leaves went in here, and I've left it, and it's grown into that. Here are some more I've already planted into the ground. They are growing. They're so cute. That's a pretty fun project to do. Yeah, that's a fun project. And now I think I'll start with the seed starting. I'm using a soil that's called Seed Raising Mix. It's a lovely, thin, fine and fluffy soil mixture that has worked really well for me. I've tried a few others that have been very barky and bulky and had poor seed germination, but this particular brand works really well. And what you're supposed to do is pre-mix it with water and get it to a consistency that can make a little ball in your hand, and then you add it to whatever you're gonna sow your seeds in. So you see I've got some water in the bucket, and I'm throwing as much seed raising mix as I think I might need over that, and then I'm going to add water and mix it through. You don't want it to be too sloppy, because then it just is mud and it messes everywhere, and once all that water evaporates you don't actually have enough soil in your container. So you really just need to get this right. I have had it dry though. Sometimes I'm a bit lazy and I just want to do it quickly, so I have put just dry soil into a little punnet and just taken my watering can and sprinkled some water over the top and just mixed it with a spoon. So I have done that in the past. Today I was sowing a lot of seed, so I decided to just take the extra time and get the soil to the right consistency. Now that I've got it the right consistency, I'm starting to fill my containers with the soil. And I don't really fill it right to the top because I'm mindful of the fact that some of my seeds are going to require a little layer of soil on top of them. And also when it gets to watering, especially in those 6-cell ones where I'm sowing directly into the 6 and the 10 pack, I'm going to be watering them with a watering can once the plants are big enough. And you do want there to be a little lip so that the water can pool and then be absorbed. So what I have there is the top of a coffee container, just a little glass coffee jar. That's the lid, and I just use that. It's a nice round shape, and I just use it to compact the soil downwards because you need it to be nice and tight. You don't want your new roots to hit air pockets. So that's what I'm just doing here. I'll go through all the different sizes. You'll see I have a big punnets, I have small punnets, and then I have 6 packs and 10 packs. I just like to use a different variety of things depending on what I'm planting. The things that I know have really good germination will go straight into a 6 pack because that skips a step for me. But things that don't always have good germination go into the seed trays. And once they have germinated and the plants look big enough, I then will put them into 6 packs. So because you want your 6 packs and your 10 packs to be full. If you sow directly into them and you're not sure about the germination, you can end up with a 6 pack and only 1 plant in there, which is annoying. So that's why I do it like this. So now I've just cleaned the bottom of my tray because it was full of soil, and what I can also do with my little seedlings is water from the bottom because there are those little grooves in that tray, so I can actually just pour the water into the bottom of the tray and the water will be absorbed through the bottom into the little seed trays, which is also a good way of watering. So that's why I went and cleaned it, because I don't want to create a big muddy mess underneath. And now I just start to pack all my plants back again. Not my plants, my seed trays. Then I just give it a quick spray with water because I want the soil to be nice and moist when the seeds get laid on top of it. Now what I'm doing is just deciding which specific seeds I want to plant in the different sized cell trays, and that just depends on what they say. So some plants hate to have their roots disturbed, so those would go straight into the ground normally, but I would now put them into a 6 or a 10 cell and then watch the roots very carefully, because if I saw the roots were getting a bit long, then I would put them into the next size or put them in the garden. Yeah, so now I've got quite a few different trays planted. So every time I just go through, read the back of the label and see what do you want. So the ones that didn't mind having a bit of soil, I put vermiculite over the top, and then that would really, I put the lid over, and the vermiculite is going to create a nice humid environment, and as well as the lid obviously keeping the air nice and warm on the inside, and that should really help all of the seeds to germinate. Even the ones that don't have vermiculite, they're going to still be in the same humid environment, so they should germinate just the same. Now the reason why I have lots and lots of different cell packs in there is because these seeds are going to germinate at different rates, and what you want to do is once they are 1 or 2 centimeters tall, you want to take them outside so they can start getting sunlight. They want to be warm and moist to germinate. Once they have leaves, they want to photosynthesize. And when you leave them indoors without direct sunlight, they start to stretch really long because they aren't getting what they need from the sun. And that is not ideal. So I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll be taking little pieces out as the different plants germinate. Now in these 10 cells I am sowing sunflowers, but they are a branching variety. So right now I have many sunflowers growing, but they're all single stemmed. So I ordered these 2 branching varieties, which means they're not going to give me one flower head, they're going to give me many. So the idea is to look after these babies so that when my current sunflowers are done, I can replace them with these branching varieties. You'll see here the seed is actually visible from this angle, so they're quite a bit bigger. They even have a color to them, they've been dyed. So I just take a little chopstick, half a chopstick, make a hole in the soil, and then stick them in the hole. And that way I don't have to come in again with my moist soil to cover them over the top. And these ones are going in just a normal plastic container that you might store things in. So we use these for toys for the children. I just bought a bunch extra as little seed raising houses. And they actually seem to work better than the one that you saw earlier that was bought specifically to raise seeds in. And my best guess would be because the lid is so much lower down that there's more humidity in the container. Okay, so the camera died and you couldn't see the end of the process, but basically all that happened was I finished seeding the seeds. Some didn't need to be covered, some did need to be covered. I put vermiculite on those that didn't mind being covered and put the lids on, and I put them in John's room on the windowsill because the sun just bakes over there. Now the next step is to just keep it nice and moist. So I will just have one of these spray bottles on his windowsill, and every morning I'll go through and I'll mist it, and every night I'll do the same thing. I have another water bottle which is for my little greenhouse because I have some seeds which I transplanted today but you couldn't see, and they're really tiny, so if I was to water them they just flop over. So I missed those as well. And then I've got this guy over here which is a pressure one, so I can pump it up and down, and I can just hold the nozzle down and I can spray it down my herb garden because that's quite a bit more area to cover. So I do that every morning and every night. Go through and make sure all the seeds that I've planted stay nice and moist, otherwise they're not going to germinate. What I have over here is a 60 cell pot, not a pot, a 60 cell tray, and I've tried this a few times now and I don't enjoy it at all. So I just wanted to show you how poor the germination has been, or the success rate in this 60 cell. I have 16 snapdragons out of 60, which is obviously no good. What actually happened is I think we had a storm, something happened, and they were very, very tiny. The snapdragons, when they germinate, they are extremely small, and I had already removed them from John's windowsill and put them outside, and then we had some sort of bad weather and they just died. So it's probably not their fault. But another thing that I don't like about the 60 cell tray is that they're very difficult to remove because the thing is so big. When you're trying to twist it and get your little cell pod out, sometimes it just doesn't work. So I'm not going to use this again. That's why you saw today I used 6 tens and just trays. So when you just use a blank tray, at a later point you come along with your 6-pack and you remove the little germinated seeds and you put them into your 6 or your 10 packs, which I did today with some of my snapdragons. But anyway, you can't see that, maybe another time. And I think that's all for today. I just was watching the footage from earlier and I must mention that I do have something on my head. I follow something called the Curly Girl method, and yesterday Fatty wasn't with me, so I thought my head wasn't in the film, and it was. So I had a heat cap on my head for the first bit, and after that I had a t-shirt on my head. So yes, it does look funny. I just thought I would explain in case you're wondering what the heck I'm up to. And I think that's the end of today's video, except there's one super exciting thing that I don't want to wait until the garden tour to show you, because it's windy and I think I'm actually going to cut it off. So let me take you on one more walk for you to see the Dahlia Pen Hill watermelon. Sun is shining. Look at my hand. It is enormous. I think I'm gonna come and cut it. Then I'll show you a pic at the end. And that's it for today. Okay, actually no, while I'm here, let me just show you these dahlias. Eveline. Look at this. El Santo. Gorgeous. I'll show you the rest in a few days' time. Okay, bye now.